morning, and I'd like to welcome everybody that's here. We got a pretty full house this morning. Roll call.
Sure. Commissioner Schlangen?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Pop?
Here.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Here.
Commissioner Heinen?
Here. Approve or amend the agenda.
We have no changes, Mr. Chair. The two documents that you have on the dais go with existing agenda items. I think Roxanne wanted you to see that the county attorney's office had signed off on the agreement with David Barsotti and the resolution that goes with Nadine's temporary easement item. So, but no changes though.
Ms. Pop, I would like to go over a couple of things on.
Wait, okay, just wait till we get to that point for-
Consent agenda?
on the agenda, consent agenda.
The one he was just talking about.
I'll look for,
We can, yeah,
we need to approve or amend the agenda first.
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made in a second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Announcements by the board chair. County board meetings are broadcast live and video recorded on YouTube. Please restrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so that the viewers can hear you. The county board observes the Roberts Rules of Orders for its meetings, so please obtain the board's chair consent before addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for open forum segment or public hearings. However, public comments on the agenda items may be allowed at the discretion of the board chair. As we begin today's meeting, please turn your cell phones to vibrate or off. Thank you. The consent agenda. We have items 1 through,
Mr. Chair.
yes, or open forum, I'm sorry. Anybody back there? Okay, now the consent agenda. We have items 1 through 5. Does anybody wish for any of them to be pulled?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull item 3 for further discussion, please.
Okay. Okay, is this where you wanted something pulled, Beth?
No, I think it was later with a different.
Okay.
When it comes up. Motion to approve consent agenda 1, 2, and 4.
Second.
Motion to approve 1,
we gonna
2,
do 5?
and 5, please.
Oh,
Yep.
next page, and
Good catch there,
5.
Commissioner Kapinski.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Okay, number 3, Commissioner Johnson.
I see Roxanne's here today, and I just have a quick question, and forgive me if I didn't see it in the contract. One thing I was concerned with, or just want to know how it works, how does a building official or a building inspector value property? For example, I'm going to build a $100,000 building, commercial building, and it values out from the county's estimated market value at maybe $140,000, but he's going to value it at $160,000. Where's the accountability on the valuation of a building, and who's checking it?
So that was a little bit of a complicated answer, but there's a chart that they use. I believe it's the state that publishes a chart to tell you the type of construction and the value of that building. It's not just him deciding that it's worth this much.
Okay.
There is a specific schedule that's used.
So that gets followed. He's on his honor, or that person's on their honor to follow that schedule. There's no cross-check from land services, anything like that, that there'd be a large discrepancy between an estimated market value and the valuation that a building inspector would put on. Because at the end of the day, his fees are driven off of the valuation that's determined.
Right. I mean, anybody could question it if they wanted to, and we
Okay,
could
but
look
there's no
over it.
check in place
No.
between the county and this contract.
No.
Okay. All right, then I just wanted to make a quick comment. I was doing a little research on the building code. I'm sure the older commissioners, or not older, more experienced
Thank you.
commissioners
Thanks for that.
would have maybe known this, but I was a little bit surprised. The information I'm finding online from the state building code for county administrators, there's 21 total counties in this state that have adopted the state building code. I thought I was a little bit shocked at that. I thought there'd be a lot more. Basically, according to the map, it pretty much goes the metro area and right up. So I just thought that was interesting that Benton County is one of 21 that has adopted that code. So Thank you. Was my question.
That was done by former commissioners, and there was a lot of controversy over that.
No.
I had questioned this before, why is Benton County using this process? I don't think it's that great of a deal. It had some extra cost, but that's what it is.
Mr. Chair, that is correct. It does add added cost, but at the end of the day, if there is something wrong,
I know.
either falls back on us or it falls back on them.
Yeah, I know.
Okay? And I've been through that process and I know how it works really well.
Didn't want to open up a can of worms, but I had
No,
a
it's
question
all-
on how
yeah.
that works.
It's all
So
good
thank you, Roxanne.
information.
Yep, thank you. All right, that's all I have. I'll move to approve item 3 then.
Second.
Been motion been made, seconded to approve consent agenda item number 3. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Monty,
All right, well, we have a employee recognition program and employees and departments can submit nominations on a quarterly basis. So this quarter, we have several folks to recognize. How about we start off with the sheriff's office and Kim, who's gonna speak on this one? Ann Landowski, come on up to the podium, please.
Good morning.
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 And of course, we must pause for photos at some point.
Yeah, every once in a while you meet a coworker, whether it's, a boss or line staff or whatever, who kind of stands out from the rest. And Kim Hansmeyer is one of those employees, always going above and beyond her normal duties and what is expected of her. She worked back in the jail as a detention officer for a year maybe. And now, then she took a position as a civil process specialist. She's responsible for the civil process papers and documents in accordance with state statutes and regulations. And when she started her position, she took over from a person who had been in that position for a long time. There was very little training and no documented procedures. And Kim started to reinvent civil process one procedure at a time and documenting that procedure as she went along, so that that ensures somebody can do the job in her absence. She's quick to recognize a problem, she takes action, asks for feedback, and follows through. For example, she streamlined a more efficient way of how money is receipted in and documented by working with all the divisions in the sheriff's office who handle money, along with the finance department, Jackie Trout, and the treasurer's office. I know she had conversations with Nadine. She routinely, attends to records division duties. She sits out front and is the first to help the public at the counter with gun permits and general information. She offers to complete tasks normally assigned to records personnel when she sees a coworker who seems overwhelmed or in the absence of a staff member out on PTO. As with all areas of the county, we are short-staffed back in the jail. And Kim was the first to volunteer to pick up shifts after hours and on weekends to help out her fellow coworkers. She's a very kind and positive person. Her focus is not just on her position of civil process specialist, but globally focused on what is beneficial for the sheriff's office as a whole. Her supervisor can't be here today. She's on vacation. But she tells me that Kim is in constant communication with staff members both inside and outside of her immediate office, as well as her immediate supervisor and administration, to ensure that everyone is working towards the same goals and no one is repeating work. She is respectful of other staff members' roles and considers how she can support them. All in all, she's a great person. Thank you.
How Have maybe our board chair included in that photo, if you're so inclined?
And I think the photo should be up front.
More
We've
Yeah,
got
that's
plenty
right.
of
Come
room
on.
here.
The duties of board chair.
Yeah, we're gonna send the more experienced one.
Thank you all very
Congratulations,
much.
thank you.
Thank you. I don't even know if you should sit down, sir.
You're not done yet. You know, one thing I should mention is,
We got a chair right here for you.
these nominations are actually reviewed by an employee committee. There's
Okay.
about 6 or 7 folks that meet and review these and debate the merits of them. So, and then they make the decision. It's a group of employees that do make this decision. So let's move on. How about Nina? Who's gonna speak on behalf of Nina?
I'm gonna, and then Ashley was gonna on.
You just guys go right ahead, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am Nina's direct supervisor. We're over in St. Cloud, East Cape. Nina's been with us a little over 22 years, and she's built her knowledge all of those years and done a really good job. She sets a really great example for everybody, and, you know, is always checking on where everybody's at different phases of training. Right now, we're training about probably 10 people total over there, and so she's whipping in a lot of directions all the time. She daily goes above and beyond, does a super job for us, and I'm very proud of the job she does. So I'd like to say congratulations, and then she's very much deserving of this award. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we could do
Ashley?
a group photo at the end and.
No.
how-
Got Ashley.
Ashley
Oh, I'm
was gonna
sorry,
talk.
someone else wanted to talk. Go ahead.
I apologize that I'm not there today.
No
so
problem.
I did write something here. I'm gonna start with a little quote. I promise it's not too long for us. If something is wrong, fix it now. But train yourself not to worry. Worry fixes nothing. It's by Ernest Hemingway, and that basically sums up everything that Nina possesses every single day here. So Nina has become someone that our office strives to be. She allows each one of us to grow into our own person while allowing herself to be there when we need her. This is all despite nearly an entire new office of individuals. All of us are confused on how she does that job. She has become our cheerleader and expects us to make mistakes, but allows us the time to correct them and praises us when she sees that it just clicks for us. Nina presses us to feel accomplished with even the smallest win. She really leads the unit in remaining positive throughout the day. She truly is an inspiration to our entire team.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, we've got one more person to recognize this morning, Angel. Who's
Could
gonna
we have
speak?
pictures,
Gonna do a
please?
photo there first?
Excuse me? Why don't we do that then?
Thought I was confused.
Thanks for your work, Nina.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Congrats again.
Thank you.
At least you're getting your steps in this morning, sir.
Oh, the gloves are coming out.
That's experience right there.
That's experience.
Tough crowd, isn't it? Tough crowd. Okay, now Angel.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to introduce you to Angel Meyer, who's hiding out in the back corner over there. I am Angel's direct supervisor, and it is my utmost pleasure to be here today for she's been recognized for her exemplary customer service Angel has started with us in 2017 as a CD assessor and a civil commitment worker, and then in 2019 transitioned over to my unit of the Home and Community-Based Services. She works primarily with the children and has a very large caseload, but never complains about it. She always makes sure to make time for all family members and make sure that questions are answered. She meets them with compassion and courtesy, as well as some firmness at times when they try to push the envelope on what's allowed. So again, she is an asset to our agency, and I'm proud to be here today to recognize her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on, fellas.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. And then one more. Okay, thanks.
Congratulations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
at this time, who's taking the pictures?
Hi, I'm Shannon.
Shannon's our new HR assistant.
Oh,
I just wanted to acknowledge that.
welcome aboard.
Yep, I know Will.
Yep.
Yep, go ahead, Mike. I thought he was just gonna take it and run.
Thank you, sir. We bossed you around so much earlier, I was pushing the envelope.
Okay.
Well, we can help.
Okay, I regret that I do not have a proposal from Brown Intertech this morning. I spoke to them just Friday, though, so they were gonna try to get me a proposal on doing some soil investigation work on this site by today, but unfortunately they could not. But again, I spoke to them on Friday. So, but I think it's good to maybe give you an update on some issues going on with this site. Commissioner Johnson let us know that when that building was demolished over 20 years ago, that some buried fuel tanks were discovered. And apparently there was some soil contamination from fuel oil. With the problem that we face today, it's unclear from the documents that we have, was this site actually cleaned up? Is there contamination still present on the site? We just don't know. Commissioner Johnson was able to obtain some documentation from MPCA that was dated in 2002. It's simply not conclusive. It says essentially there could be contamination still on the site. I got a document from the property owner, Mr. Sabanya, from a company called Apex Environmental. Essentially, it says the same thing. There could be. It says if you build over the top of it and you don't disturb it, you might be fine. If you actually have to put in footings through the area that's possibly contaminated, then you might be looking at some actual treatment, remediation of the contaminated soils on the site. So again, that's the struggle we're facing, is really a little bit of mystery about this site, about what's under the ground. So I contacted Brown Intertech. We work with Brown Intertech all the time on road projects. They do soil sampling. I got a contact from Chris Bird. I spoke with him Friday, explained the issues. I provided these documents to Brown Intertech, and they're going to prepare a proposal for us. So most likely I'll have to bring that to your December 14th meeting. And I've let Mr. Sabanya know that we're looking at doing some site investigation work before we can move forward. I think from where he sits, he felt when he purchased the site back in 2000, I believe it was 3, it was a quote clean site. At least that's what he's conveying to me. He felt it was a clean site. And it may be, again, it's just, we don't know. We don't know. So let's see, a couple of issues. As you may recall, this would require a rezoning. I met with Sarah Brown, City of Foley. I got their rezoning application. I was working on it, and I actually have sent it to Mr. Sabania for him to sign. He, as owner, needs to also sign the application to the city. So we're sending it off today, and he can sign that, get it back to us, and then we'll move that forward to the city. We need from our surveyor what's called a certificate of survey to accompany the application. That may take 2 or 3 weeks to get from our county surveyor, Jay Whitstock. So I want to let you know that process is moving forward as well. A couple of things I wanted to mention about the site. I have up on here a beacon. As I was looking at the site a couple weeks ago, I realized that in addition, so the parcel we've been talking about mostly is, of course, the big square here in the middle. But also this parcel has a disconnected segment. As you can see down here in red, I'm told in the old days that was actually the side of the playground that went with the school. So when I met with Sarah Brunn, she said, did you realize also that Mr. Zabanya also owns this parcel? And I did not know, and he does. So I asked Mr. Zabanya, I said, is it your intention that this purchase would include this parcel too? And he said yes. So I just wanted to make you aware that I would make the assumption that, well, if we were to acquire the property, it would include essentially all 3 areas, here and here. I can see some benefit of having this parcel as well. It would give us perhaps a service. If we put a building up here someday, it would give us additional access to the street. I believe that's Grand Street. So it would provide access. Sarah tells me it's really not buildable. She says there are city utilities running under this, so you couldn't build over the top of it. So anyway, I just want you to know that's what I would convey to our surveyor to conclude that in the survey, and the purchase agreement would include that parcel too. So on that subject, Michelle Meyer, assistant county attorney, is working on a purchase agreement. She recommended to me that I bring to you a resolution, just like what you did with the Eisenstein property, a resolution essentially setting in motion a purchase agreement that the administrator could sign at some point. So she's recommending essentially we follow a similar process. So my goal is to have a resolution for you December 14th, and hopefully, again, the Braun Intertech proposal on the soil investigation work. So that's kind of where we're at. Just mostly today is just information at this point. No requested action.
Okay.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, just a few further comments. First of all, I want to give a thank you to Superintendent Neubauer. He was gracious enough to allow me to go dig through the school files from 20 years ago. And I was actually able to find that letter that I thought was there. Just a brief history, what Monty talked about. If you envision that site basically in the center is when they were doing the demolition, they hit 2 fuel barrels that had number 6 grade fuel in it. And so the demolition came to a halt, and the duty officer was called from the state, and we actually contracted with Jim Fenice out of East St. Cloud, and the oil was pumped out, and then the soil that was around those barrels was, if you recall at all, was stockpiled on the site for quite a period of time. Petro funds at that time were used for the cleanup. So I think Monty's right. Him and I had a discussion of, is there contamination there? Maybe, maybe not. And so I think if we're gonna pursue this at all, we wanna behoove us to verify it. So I think in the scheme of things, spending a few dollars on some soil samples would be a good thing to do. So with that, that's it.
Mr. Chair, Monty, so with the bore soils and everything going on through Braun, is that up to us to pay for that, or is that a negotiable?
I think that's a discussion you all should have. Of course, I can't speak for Mr. Sabania if it's negotiable on his behalf. I don't know. I suppose in theory it could be. I suppose that the presence of contaminated soils might influence what the board is willing to pay for the site. So, as I would imagine when Mr. Sabania established his price, it was under the premise that it was a clean site.
Right.
And I think we got to be very clear that we're not saying it's not.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
We're just following up.
Agreed. I think it's simply, it's a bit unknown at this point. Right. Yep.
Well, I guess I'd wait and see what the proposal is
Right.
for the soil bores.
And I must say, I don't have any clue whatsoever
No.
what this kind of work could cost us. The gentleman from Braun Intertech used the term phase one and phase two.
Right.
Apparently, phase one more is a kind of a desk review of the available documentation, the aerial maps and so on and so forth. Phase two is actually the digging in the dirt. It's the actual soil sampling part of the project.
Yep.
And fortunately, we're not necessarily dealing with an enormous area. It's, it's a fairly small area, so hopefully it won't be terribly expensive. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Nadine, Auditor Treasurers. Well, Heather today.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
So we're here to present the request by the Minnesota Department of Transportation. They would like a 10-foot temporary construction easement along the frontage of a couple of tax forfeited parcels in Maywood Township. And the parcels are 08.00206.15 and 08.00206.20. They're going to be doing a construction project along Highway 23, and they contacted Chris Bird in Public Works. They're requesting that temporary construction easement in order to be able to put their equipment off to the side of the road when they're doing their construction project. They would like to pay a $500 minimum damage valuation per parcel in order to do this easement. And the estimated period of time that Chris had stated was going to be about 2 years. The document for the easement that the Minnesota Department of Transportation gave to us said that it could last through December 1st of 2027. But Chris had said that it would likely be done in 2 years. Per Minnesota Statute 282.04, Subdivision 4, with the approval of the county board, the county auditor may grant easement rights on the tax forfeited land for highways, roads, and trails. So what we're requesting today is that the board approves a resolution granting the easement that's being requested to the Minnesota Department of Transportation in exchange for the $500 minimum damage valuation. And I'd like to call Chris up here. He was going to explain to you what his communication was with the Minnesota Department of Transportation.
If you recall, about a month ago, I brought forward 2 easements for parcels right here that we actually own the title on. So this is a very similar situation, except in the fact that these are tax forfeited parcels. And just like Heather just read from the statute, the auditor's office is kind of like the steward of those tax forfeited parcels. So it needs to, kind of had to come through this process. So yeah, it's a 10-foot construction easement, just parallels their existing right-of-way. What I'm being told by MnDOT is they plan on most of their construction, if not all of it, to occur within their existing right-of-way. They're just seeking that 10-foot temporary easement to give them a little bit more space. If a contractor happens to drive equipment just outside of the right-of-way, they want to know that they have that easement and permission up front. So nothing permanent will be placed in that 10-foot after construction. So construction is anticipated to start next year and should be completed within 2 years. So that's why I say probably that easement will expire at the end of construction in about 2 years. They put an extra date, that probably extends it out to about 5 years, just to give them some wiggle room if something happens with construction and they don't get it all done in 5 years. I'm hopeful that they should get it done within 2 years. So very similar to what we've done before, except that it's tax forfeited parcels and we don't actually hold the deed on those. So we got to go through this process.
Okay.
So there is the approval of the easement documents and a resolution that we're asking the board to adopt, since it is this tax forfeited parcel.
Mr. Chair, quick question, Chris. $500 minimum damage valuation. What's the word minimum in there for?
Okay, so that's a process in statute when evaluating public right-of-way. If they anticipate, what is it now? It used to be $10,000 or less, the value of the parcel. I think now they've upped it to $20,000 or $25,000. If they anticipate the value of the acquisition is going to be less than that value, whether it's $10,000 or $20,000, they can go through this process called a minimum damage valuation, and then it's kind of done in-house with appraisers and stuff, as opposed to hiring a licensed commercial appraiser. The parcels here in town, since it has buildings and other facilities on it, MnDOT hired a commercial appraiser to value basically that square footage. And then they do a calculation based on kind of like they're renting it for a few years, and that's how they come up with the price for these parcels in town. Since this is bare land, there's nothing developed on it, they went with this route and determined that the minimum value is less than 500. MnDOT has a policy of offering nothing less than 500 for these kind of temporary easements like this.
And this 500 would be for the term of this period, right? It's not 500 per year.
Correct, for the whole term, it's
Yeah.
$500, like a one-time payment.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve a resolution granting the 10-foot temporary construction easement to the parcels that have been identified and presented. You also needed another recommendation or approval for
The resolution.
the resolution, also to include the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been seconded, and you heard the request. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Heather.
Chris. Thank you,
Thank
Heather.
you.
This time we'll recess the regular board meeting and turn it over to Human Services Chair, Commissioner Heinen.
At this time, we'll call the order of the Human Services Board. Is there anything to add to the agenda, Bob?
No.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay, consent agenda item 1 through 4. Does anybody want one of those pulled?
Number 4.
You want number 4 pulled, Commissioner Schlangen? Okay.
I'll move approval of consent agenda or consent items 1 through 3.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Commissioner Schlangen, number 4.
Okay, it was proposed a couple of minor changes by the county attorney, and I would like to approve those changes.
You'd like to approve the noted changes that is in front of
that
us,
the
correct?
attorney brought up.
Yep. Any further, anything else, Commissioner Schlangen, on that? Okay.
I'll second that.
There wasn't a motion yet.
She's gonna, I assume she made one. Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the changes as proposed by Benton County Attorney Philip Miller.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Okay, Bob, you're up.
All right, we just have one item left here, and a little bit of history here is we have talked about transitioning, excuse me, from charging our parents for out-of-home placement costs. We have historically used the child care process, and we have recently, we would like to go to a sliding fee scale. So I think the idea is that when we use the child care format, that is a little bit higher and it's a little bit less flexible as far as using a sliding fee scale to accommodate different income levels. So that is our proposal. We have thought about doing that for quite some time, but our assistant county attorney didn't feel that that was something that he wanted to do. He felt that one was more defendable in court. However, that person is retired, so now we have the new county attorney helping us, and he feels that there is no distinction between the two, that either is defensible in court. So we felt that it would be easier for us to be able to apply a sliding fee scale. So I would ask or entertain any questions.
Bob, does Peggy have anything to say?
She probably does.
Of course, I always have an opinion.
Please share it with us.
As Bob mentioned, there's a little history to this proposal. It's probably 5 or 6 years ago. We did look at moving to the parental, to the sliding fee scale instead of the child support scale. And at that time, the county attorney thought that the other one was more defendable. And the reason we want to move to this is it makes the fees based on their income, based on the government poverty, the government federal poverty guidelines, it makes them a little more collectible. We can assess whatever fee we want. That's one issue, is to assess fees, and these child supports guidelines are pretty high. And, you know, some families are getting hit for $1,000, $1,300 a month for their child placement. And these are the parents that are cooperating with us. The parents that are not cooperating automatically get assessed half the cost of placement. So to make the fees more collectible and to put a little less pressure on the parents that have the kids out of home placement, we'd like to follow the federal guidelines, the federal income guidelines and it's called the sliding fee scale. So it's basically just supporting what Bob has said, yes. And this is the second time we have a new county attorney. He feels that this scale would be very defendable in court if we need to go to court, and so that's why we're coming to you to ask to go to the new scale.
Thanks for the clarification. Any questions?
No.
No questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I so move that we support the sliding fee schedule for out-of-home placement.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passed. Bob, you have anything else for us?
I don't have anything else, but I would love to answer or attempt to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Bob?
I actually do have one quick. Any update on what the attendance was like at the vaccination clinic for the 5 to 11-year-olds and how many potential gift cards were handed out?
I don't know if I can give you the answer of how many gift cards were handed out, but I do. Peggy,
come
on. Here.
Our first order was for 200 gift cards, and they have another clinic this Friday, and we had to order another 22 for that clinic, so.
Okay. And I know that I did email Bob this question, and maybe Peggy can help answer it a little bit. Bob, you answered it, but I was just gonna go a little deeper. So, gift cards were paid with COVID funds. Is that correct? Okay.
We have a federal COVID vaccine grant, and there was 10 or 15% of the grant was specifically allocated towards incentives for this age group.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I would share is that Jacqueline gave us an update yesterday, and she said that it was successful. She said it was really something else having a bunch of kids in there, because they really had to oftentimes try and work as 2 and 3 nurses to each child because of some of the things that you would expect to happen at a immunization clinic. So I think we learned a lot about having a mass clinic for children that age. So I think it was really interesting, and we learned a lot, and it took longer than we planned just because of all the things that we had to do, but it was good.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah. Go ahead,
Mr.
Chair.
It's going around the table today. Anyway,
okay.
question, do you guys have an update on where Benton County sits on COVID or central Minnesota? Any updates? I'm hearing that the hospitals are full and.
I can give you a quick, again, Jacqueline gave us an update yesterday, and she said that we had over 100 new positive cases, and we were a little over 300. I can't remember exactly the number, but it was 300 plus active cases right now. So we are really heading up, and I see that the state of Minnesota is the highest
In the nation.
right now as far as peaking. But that might be because we have a cold climate and we're all starting to move indoors, so it might be reactionary to the cold weather, but it's we are heading up to where we probably, I don't know if we were necessarily expecting it, but we were expecting at least a bump, but I think it's becoming more than a bump. But
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
one more question for Peggy while I'm on the COVID funds. So if I understood you right, 10 to 15% of the dollars were designated for incentives. So is that the county's choice whether or not they use it for incentives? And if they don't, what happens to the funds?
It's the county's choice to be used for incentives, and if they don't use it for incentives, they can use it for other COVID purposes.
Okay, so it's not just for that. I mean, you don't have to use it. If we choose not to use it for incentives, it can be used for any other COVID purpose. It's not designated only for incentives.
Right, I think that was the guidelines, you could use up to a certain percent for incentives, but you didn't have to use them for incentives.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Any other questions for Peggy? Or Bob?
I have a question with the homeless situation. I saw the governor said that we have no homeless veterans in the county. Is that under control?
Sandy?
I'm not sure how to respond to that exactly, but
Sandy, you wanna come up here? I don't mind going back and forth at all. So.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how they do those figures, but no, I don't believe that that is true. It's maybe no one on the waiting list, but that is not true. We still have a significant amount of homeless individuals that has not changed significantly or gotten a lot better.
Mr. Chair? But he was talking about homeless
The
veterans.
veterans itself,
No, I
correct.
know.
Including veterans?
So it might be better for veterans, but it is very unlikely that there are no homeless veterans in Benton County.
He made a big deal out of central Minnesota being in that category.
That's why my hesitancy to say that, but I find that highly unlikely.
Okay,
Thank you, Sandy. Any other questions for Peggy, Sandy, or Bob? You have anything else to ask or add, Bob? Okay, thank you. At this time, we're adjourned.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob,
Andy.
Sandy, and Peggy. At this point, I'll turn it over to the chair.
We'll reconvene the regular board meetings and we'll begin with commissioner meeting updates. Beth?
Not me first?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, I was in on the criminal justice meeting. And they have that contract bed through Lionel Lakes. They're sitting right around 4 dozen people in the jail, and they're working on getting the females at a separate facility. Anyone add anything to that, Commissioner Heinen?
I can when it's my turn, I
Okay.
guess. Yep, I can add a little bit more.
Alrighty. And then I was also at the TRICAP meeting. They've been working on all their grants to keep their services going and all the staff that they need. And they do a lot of services for our community and let's see. They're serving almost 1,000 households in our area. Let Scott comment on anything else later too. The Council on Aging. They are running a little bit under budget. They're doing over 1 million meals with their program. Their board members are up, we have enough board members, and we're needing an at-large for Benton County. Dealing with social isolation, health and wellness. And they hired Eleanor Burkett as a community development specialist for North Central counties to work with the Title III Human Support Services. And RSVP had a lot of meetings. Let's see. They were replacing at least one person on the board. They had a lot of community activities that they've been doing with the Rivers of Hope, the Promise Neighborhood, bus training for moving people around as needed to get to appointments. And they're looking for, let's see. Well, the word of mouth is the greatest input that they have for increasing services. And then training outreach people. And they are doing assessment surveys on the community too for needs that people would desire and to help out with. And was there anything else? That's on my pile so far anyway.
Commissioner Heinen?
Yeah, so I too sat in a criminal justice committee meeting. Sheriff Troy Heck talked about the CAT team, community action team, still moving forward, still working with Stearns County to get a better hold of how we're gonna run this program. Still in the works. Deb, of course, talked about the probation updates, and very thankful that we got that bed for a whole year. And she also did share some comments that get ready for more because of what's happening in the community, you know, all around through Benton County. We're not in a, we're not in a great situation because of what's happening with COVID and everything else right now. They did talk a little bit about the jail updates. And the court with the COVID thing is it seems like every week there's something different that's given to the court facility of what they have to do with masks, no masks, you know, if they can still do it virtual or not. So they're trying to do as much as possible virtual. So with that, I also had a solid waste advisory committee meeting last night with Commissioner Gopinski. We talked about our solid waste management plan. We discussed our rubbish review postcard wishes to continue. We agreed to continue the postcards. We talked about our amnesty day, and I'm thankful that Chris is here. Because apparently there was an issue at the Public Works building about a door. Do you know anything about that? That was brought to our attention last night.
Yeah, somebody tried to break into the door, one of the locked doors in our facility. So this particular amnesty days, our cold storage building was open. That's where I understood they dropped off their household waste. But I think somebody tried to get in between there's a door in between those two buildings. They tried to get into that door. That's our main facility that was locked. That's normally locked over the weekends. And we don't know if they were trying to get to the restroom or what it was. But yeah, Monday morning that door lock was broken and the door was available to be open.
So do you have camera systems and everything on that door to understand or see what happened?
I believe in between. We have 360 degrees around the building, but in between the two buildings, there's no camera view there in between the two buildings.
Because last night at the meeting and discussion, there was supposed to be a door open into the warm facility for eye wash, if something happened.
Oh.
And from what was presented to us last night, is that the door was open by a break or block or something.
Somebody propped it open.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they left it open just for that.
Well, yeah, I don't think we were aware that there was supposed to be a door left unlocked for that purpose. So, yeah, that was not conveyed to us, so.
Okay, so in the future, when we have these, the two Amnesty Day events, we should have better communication then of what needs to be done.
Sure, yeah.
Cold and warm
Because maybe
storage.
it's not always, maybe it's just when they use that household waste, that what I understand,
Right,
that's
correct,
not
household
every amnesty
waste.
days, just when they have the household waste.
That'll
maybe.
be just the fall.
Yep, correct, and that'll
So-
be just in September.
Because I don't
to
recall in
change
the past being requested to leave a door unlocked for that purpose.
it. Yeah, and that was the whole reasoning, I guess,
Okay.
was to get into the warm facility for the eye wash,
Okay.
just in case.
Then if
Makes
that was the
sense.
case, the block might have, easily could have been kicked aside and not realized.
Yeah, so you want to do some further investigation on that and
Okay.
see what we have so we can clear this up.
Sure.
Chris, there was no damage or anything to the door.
I think property management might have had to fix the door, handle lock mechanism on it, so.
Okay.
Okay.
But that might have been done in-house and at minimal cost, but,
And don't seem to be missing anything?
not that we know of, but, yeah, I don't think we lost anything, no, at this point, but.
It just doesn't seem like a good idea to have the unsupervised access to the warm storage building. There's
No.
equipment in there that people could climb up on, fall off on, get hurt. I'm wondering if there's such a thing as like a temporary eye wash station that could be just set up inside the cold storage and paid for with the solid waste funds. It does seem very wise to have, again, unsupervised access to our warm storage building. I would not recommend that at all.
I kind of agree for a couple of reasons. We have stuff that's, inventory materials, and plus that distance to the eye wash station is quite a distance
It
from where
is.
they could potentially get exposed to the eye wash station. So-
I'll connect with Roxanne. Is there such a thing as a temporary eye wash station that could be set up? Kind of a one-use and disposable, something like that.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and just connect with Sierra.
Yep.
Yeah.
Solid waste.
Everything
all
else
that.
went good?
We're starting to have a concern with the litter on the premises afterwards. There's a lot of broken glass and things that are in the parking lot and stuff. We're still trying to navigate that and what's the best way to manage that, just kind of policing the area after Amnesty Days is over. As you can imagine, there's a lot of people there. There's
If we can do a clean sweep or something.
a lot of stuff being thrown away stuff, and it's easy to see how things can get spilled and missed and broken and not picked up afterwards. So.
Chris, do we own a street sweeper?
We do. The problem is a lot of this is on the gravel portion of the parking lot. So you can't sweep that without picking up all the gravel as well. And so that's something that we've just kind of bladed over and into.
I think what we need to do is have a conversation, sit-down conversation with you and the Solid Waste Committee and try to remedy this problem, this issue.
It's a concern of mine because that's why I understand why we don't have AMC days at the high school parking lot was kind of part of the policing afterwards. And we don't want that to happen at our facility either, so.
That is correct, but I can tell you moving forward, the odds of us having it at the Sauk Rapids High School is gonna be slim to none.
Yeah.
anymore. So that's why we had to move in a different direction.
Sure.
And that was, the only logical choice so far was our facility out there.
Yeah, we have the space to do it, so.
But we are open to suggestions too at the Solid Waste Committee of, what needs to be done. But
Sure.
I think we
Okay.
need to have this conversation with you though,
February
and the Solid
7th,
Waste Committee.
before everything goes out.
Yeah, yep, and.
February 7th?
Yeah.
That's when the next Dempsey days, or that's when everything?
No, that's when our next meeting is.
Oh, okay,
Is
very good.
February 7th. So we set our meetings to that night, and it's February 7th, and then it's always the third month in May, August, and November. But I think we should get you on board for that at 5 o'clock
Okay.
and have a conversation with you or Mark or whoever else is involved.
Sure, okay, good. That's plenty of notice. We can come up with some ideas before then.
Great, we would truly appreciate that, so. And we just had one SCORE grant application for Tri-County Organics. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Jared?
Okay. Commissioner Heinen and myself did attend the Sauk Rapids HRA meeting on the 2nd. Just give a little update on where everything is at on our end from a board level. I attended a business, it's a BRE, what does Amanda call it?
We have
Retention and expansion with Manea's Meats, who's planning on doing a potential expansion. So we got a tour of their facility, great facility. So it was fun to go through the whole process and what they have there. Then we had a MICA meeting, and that was an interesting meeting. It was definitely a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be.
I had to leave. I didn't even see the end.
It was, couple good things, I know Commissioner Johnson will like this one. The deputy register needs, the state knows that all of the fees have to be increased, cause nobody's making it right now.
Yeah.
And it's a major problem, so this is the first time that they feel that there's actually some legs behind having these fees, some more of these fees stay in the local where they're being collected. So stay tuned on that. Transportation bill that was passed was 1.2 trillion, 7 billion to Minnesota for next 5 years. There's opportunity for more too. So, and they truly feel that we'll get more, but at least 7 billion, and I thought they threw a stat out there that's like 3 bonding cycles or something like that. It's insane amount. They're worried about being able to spend that much money in that 5 years.
Basically, I thought not being able to spend.
The contractors.
To get the work done.
To get the work
Yeah.
done. Yep.
There's just not enough people out there to do the work.
4.8 billion for highways and bridge is hopefully what's coming to Chris, right?
Show me the money, huh?
Yeah.
What percentage of that money is coming to Benton County?
Just to go through 300 million bridges, 68 million electric, car charging stations, 818 million for mass transit. Health and Human Services Board, they got a budget retreat on the 18th, November. This isn't probably new news, but they are not launching the min choices, revision. For obvious reasons, I guess. I don't know what those reasons would be, but this has been trying to be launched for years. There's a rent, I forget what term they called it, but they paid out 200 million in rent help. There was 359 million in requested rent help. They're also doing that Care 11 series that started. That was,
forgot
I
to
actually
talk
watched
about
part of that, so.
If I may.
Oh, go ahead.
We did talk about that, the GAP, GAP.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about that too at our Criminal Justice Committee, and I actually asked the questions, where are we on this? And the answers I received is before these people are let out of jail and or wherever, they're always trying to find a place for them so they can keep tabs on them. And of course, it's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. And I forget how many, is it like 4 episodes of this series?
Yeah.
So, I think the first episode just aired last week or something.
2 or 3,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the next one was the Public Safety Committee. They met October 21st. Basically what came out of that is Minnesota is last in the amount of money going to corrections out of the general fund. We got 2.5% going to corrections out of general fund. We are last in the US.
Really?
That might explain some of our prison,
Last in the
yeah,
US.
last in the US. So that's not a very good
So,
place to be.
and then they did their policy updates for legislative.
Yep, they did.
platform.
And I'll tell you this, I got to the I had to duck out
Yeah,
about a
I
half
did
hour early. So there, I thought literally 45 minutes into the first, I thought that was all the policy. It was just that first one. I'm like, oh. Man.
They've gotten quite long on them over the years from Micah. I think we're gonna have some changes come next year on that, what Mike is doing, so.
Yeah.
But they,
Condense it-
yeah,
condense
they
it a little
really,
bit.
they really do work for the counties that are with Micah.
They really,
Yeah.
I think it's a very good organization. There's a lot of information that comes out of them, so. Then I had the APO was canceled for this month. Then we had a Minnesota Public Sector collaborative meeting to go over the RX solution. That'll be coming to all of us here next meeting, I believe, Monty. Yeah. I had a little trouble with my computer, so thanks Johanna for talking for me. She could kind of hear I was seconding and making motions, and nobody else could
Nobody
hear
answered.
that. Yeah, nobody else. So I don't know what was wrong, but what came out of that is basically I gave an update a while, or maybe last meeting, just on the rebates and what that comes from Benton County. And basically the net gain is 250 grand to the counties that participate, and that's equally shared amongst the participants in that program. So there was a lot of debate. I mean, the meeting went for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And finally, they're looking for a motion. I said, I don't know what all this communication was. It's a no-brainer for us. I'll make the motion, and, I mean, it's a net gain every way we turn. And we can always work on it from here, but it should be a little bit of a savings for Benton County, at least this year, and we can work on it for next year. So, I think that, and then the solid waste that Commissioner Heinen already went into depth on, and that should be it.
All right, I just wanted to highlight a few items from our last planning commission meeting. It's kind of was a good agenda that highlights what planning commission deals with. The first one was an interim use permit for a second dwelling for supportive care. That's one of the things that our ordinance allows, and so it's a good thing that we can do that for families to be able to keep their parents and or grandparents, whoever they need, maybe on their property with them. Of course, it allows for a mobile home type unit, and then when the care is no longer needed, that unit leaves, so that there's not two homes on a parcel. The second one we did, which was kind of exciting, I don't know if you know Pat Galing from NRS. His son Mark has moved back to the Foley area and purchased the old blank property out here with the corn bins and that type of thing. If you look at the property to the right, there's a commercial building there. And he's gonna be moving light manufacturing and warehousing into there, so that was pretty good. I
Nice.
believe he's moving up here from Watertown, so it was pretty exciting to have that business back in town and have a local person.
And that must be where Pat's gonna go to work after he leaves there.
So the planning commission obviously was pretty excited to be
Yeah,
able
no kidding.
to offer that
What
permit
kind of
to him.
manufacturing?
You know, he talked about like trailer connections, forklift attachments, that type of thing.
Okay.
And it sounds like he puts them together. He doesn't
Okay.
necessarily make them, so he puts them together and ships out from there. So, kind of exciting. What a perfect place, right? On our 23 corridor. So that was awesome. The last one then was a interim use permit to operate a mining operation. It was an extension to what I call the old. It's right at the intersection of 95 and 23. I lost who used Amcon. Now is Semstone. But it sounds like that particular property is kind of coming to the end of its use here in the next few years. And so, but they were at a spot in their interim use process that their permit had expired, and so they needed to come in and extend that. If I recall correctly, that pit may not even be in operation through the full 5 years of this extension. So, and also from my understanding, that particular area has already started to be reclaimed, and that will be a nice step down, large pond when it's finished, so that'll be nice. Myself, Commissioner Kapinski, Monty, I know has been in attendance. We are having our weekly rural broadband meetings. Those are interesting. I think it's fair to say that Benton County is at least as far ahead on this, or even more than some other counties, and so that's kind of a encouraging thing to where we're at with that. Extension meeting, that was interesting. If you recall, Commissioner Pop had conversations with commissioners from Sherburne County in regards to joining our 3-county effort, and they have decided to come on board, and I understand that Lori, did Lori say we had unanimous?
Yep, it was unanimous, yeah.
We're concerned it was gonna be a 3-2 vote, but it sounded like the other 2 commissioners came along and they're gonna join us going forward. We also welcomed Megan Garrett's.
Right.
She's the new Darlene. So she was actually a Bemboom from the Mayhew Lake area.
Yeah.
So she's gonna fit right in, and she did a great job that night. We heard our usual reports from horticulture, agriculture, and livestock, crops, et cetera. Also, 4-H is gonna be holding their 4-H Leaders and Adult Volunteer Awards Banquet coming up on Sunday, the 21st, and that's gonna be down in Dwellum. So I think that's all I had.
Yeah, that was
I
a
think
great,
we're all invited to that.
Could be.
I don't know how they do that. We don't
I-
set it
what
as
I-
a,
I got an email about it anyway.
Correct, yep. You got an email to see if you wanted to RSVP to attend to
Okay.
it.
And that RSVP was due yesterday.
okay. That extension group is running really well. You know, I think we got great people in place. I hope we can find that fourth
No, I
one
will be
that
out of town.
will, you know, sit well with what they're doing. They're gonna use small farms and what else is the?
Local foods.
Small farms and local foods, and 2 from Benton County, 2 from Morrison, 3 from Stearns, and 2 from Sherburne County. We'll do the interviews for that come January probably.
And also, we did have our annual reviews.
Annual reviews,
That
yeah.
went on for a solid hour or more afterwards.
Thank God Natalie Schmidt was there.
It was all online and basically the same questions, and some of it was actually essay, so
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So we covered a lot of things. I did have way back on the 1st of November, we had a library reopener for our labor negotiations, just on the benefit package. Susan was there.
Susan Hanson, okay,
Yep,
yeah.
and it went really well. They have a new union rep that represented, you know, the unions, and he was really, really good. He doesn't do anything with Benton County as of now, he said, but he's looking at maybe being a part of something from Benton County. One of their labor.
Asked me?
Yeah, I think it was, and he's up in Todd County and something else, but he said there's a chance. Really a good guy, you know, somebody you'd really like to work with. And it went well. It was, you know, supposed to take like 3 hours, and it took an hour and a half, so that was good. And then, of course, we had the MICA board meeting, and that was about all that I had that wasn't covered. So then we'll go to commissioner concerns. Anybody have anything? I guess I have one concern that came about from the MICA meeting is that they give us our estimated levy increases. And Benton County's number one. I mean, you know, this is the first time since I've been on the MICA board that we sit as the highest levy increase, where there's another 5.75. But
That's
so,
Sherburne, right? No, Sherburne's 4.
yeah.
Which is kind of confusing because I think some are considering what they're gonna basically before their development and everything like that. Cause Sherburne was in that 5s too.
Right.
Yeah.
But they only showed 4.9 on that.
How many
That's-
counties are in the MICA
15.
15?
Yeah. And again, Dakota County is at 0.
Yeah.
They have no
She
debt.
Yeah, they've got 0 debt.
0 debt, no debt whatsoever. So they can manage that. But I thought it was interesting that that's the first time since I've been on the MICA board that,
That would be, you know, Commissioner Kapinski brings up, would be a good way to double check, are they giving us a realization number? Are they giving us their real?
Well, that should be the same number that we have to give.
Yeah, it's just their
Yeah.
ordinary gross
Gross
levy increase. It
levy.
doesn't consider what their tax capacity growth is,
right.
just the regular.
So some of them will be,
Change in the levy.
I didn't hear any of them that said they were gonna be lower
No.
forward. So, that would be my only commissioner concern today. Okay. Set committee of the holes?
I had a,
Oh, sure.
I was at the, Minden, Joint Powers Board meeting. And, let's see, with the Raleigh's situation, okay, Benton County handles all the construction, or the plans and stuff. The board deals with the, land use, things, so we got that figured out anyway. So if there's a land use issue, then it's it's St. Cloud and, Benton County, Minden Township that works on that.
Is Raleigh's?
They're in early annexation. I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, there, yeah.
Correct, so I think just to help clarify, and I don't wanna speak out of term here, I think, Minden Township really was concerned because they were not getting any notification or anything. It was always going to the Early annexation, thank you, to St. Cloud. And at that point, the permit process went to the county, so St. Cloud signed off to it, sent it to the county, and the county would give a permit. And Minden Township was sitting there not knowing anything. Would that be the correct way?
Yeah, they were just wondering if a step was missed.
Oh,
Well, are you
Yeah,
talking?
Raleigh's was, they were okay, it wasn't land use that
right.
they were doing with
Are you
that.
talking about events?
No,
No,
the permitted process of,
Like
doing the
parking lot
parking
and
lot and
stuff.
everything.
So I think
Oh, okay.
the issue, the county does building code,
Yep.
whereas the Joint Powers Board does land use issues.
Correct.
Right, that's a
Yep.
distinction.
Right, and because that's an early annexation, Benton County Planning Commission does not see that.
Right.
That's
Correct.
true, you're right.
We
Yep,
don't
correct.
see that.
Yeah, so it's a circle. You know, and they
And
just
thus
thought,
Sounds like
Minden
it's a figure
doesn't
eight.
either.
it is, and they just, you know, not to speak out of term here, Commissioner Schlangen, but it sounded like Minden was out of the loop and wanted to stay in the loop.
Sure.
Would that be correct?
well, I think, yeah, they were wondering about Raleigh's, what they've been doing out there, and, or there was a question as to whether the, orderly annexation had anything to do with it. And, yeah, they didn't need to be involved with what was going on at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, they did do something else, and that was approved, and then that other project fell through.
Committee of the holes?
Just wanted to add, you're invited to the MICA annual meeting, January 20th, Southview Country Club in South St. Paul. The event begins at 1 PM, again on January 20th, so you might want to mark your calendars. They do ask for RSVP. Is anyone in position today to tell us whether or not you wish to attend? If so, we'll convey that to MICA.
What was that? Oh, my.
The
1
MICA
o'clock.
annual meeting, January 20th. It's in South St. Paul. It begins at 1 PM.
And that lasts for how long?
They'll usually conclude with a meal, probably.
Dinner at 6:30.
30, yeah.
So it's an all-afternoon event.
All after, actually, the afternoon part is board meeting. The board meeting will start at 1 o'clock, and then, a lot of the legislatures and that come in probably at, I don't know, 5:30. Board meeting will probably go from 1 to 4.
I think you could certainly attend any amount of time you wish
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah, you wanna be there at 1.
we've had other board members that came, county board members came and just sat. in
Want to
the
be
room.
there later for dinner, I think that's all fine. Yeah. Well, if you all want to think about it, that's fine. I'm sure we'll get asked again by Micah up for RSVPs, but you might just want to put it on your calendar now if you're interested in going. So we'll add it to the committee of the whole listing, and that's all we had in terms of new things.
What was that, January 21st?
January 20th. January 20th.
Okay,
Oh, I don't have January in my book.
I got a new one.
Yeah, I gotta get a new calendar. And otherwise, then the next time we'll see you'd be here on November 30th for our final budget committee of the whole at 9 AM, talk about elected official salaries. You'll get a packet a few days before that with an agenda and some other materials. So that'd be the next time we'll see you here, it'd be the November 30th committee of the whole. And just you think about your December calendar, just a reminder is the first meeting in December is gonna be December 14th at 6 for our Truth to Taxation public meeting and other regular county board items. And the last board meeting will be December 28th, normal time.
And we try to keep that evening meeting pretty short.
Yeah,
We'll do our best.
Yep.
We'll do our best.
At this time,
Uh-oh.
at this time, I might have to be virtual because I'm having surgery on the 13th, so.
Okay.
So could you all do a motion then to set that MICA one and then we'll wrap
So
that up?
moved.
Second.
Okay.
Motion been made and seconded to set the committee of the holes. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Adjourned.
Okay.